Hello and welcome to the Smithville Eco Photo Fest, a continuation of two great programs that we have been doing here in Smithville, Texas for more than a decade each. This year, for obvious reasons, we've had to go virtual with these events and we've combined them. Today, we're going to hear from photographer Victor Watson. Victor Watson has been a professional photographer for over 45 years. During the last 37 years, his primary photography duties were law enforcement related, while like many photographers, only shooting family portraits, weddings, graduations, and headshots on the side in his spare time. He retired from law enforcement in 2012 and moved to Schertz, Texas, where he opened a photography school and studio, fully committed to working as a full-time photographer and instructor. He also enjoys working with every level of photographer. So in 2014, he founded the Schertz Photography Society in hopes of sharing his love of photography and keeping the art of photography as a craft alive in and around his community. In 2018, during San Antonio's only photographic 300th birthday celebrations event, he was awarded 3 first place awards, 1 second place award, and also had one of his images awarded overall best in show. He is also currently the president of the New Braunfels Photographic Society. Welcome, Victor. Thank you for being here today.
Oh, thanks for having me, April. So if it's okay with you, we'll go ahead and just dive right into it.
Well, and just let me say very quickly, Victor Watson will be speaking today. His topic is entitled ASTRO Photography. You'll be able to watch his presentation anytime between today, the 10th, and through the 13th, when Victor will be on the panel with several other speakers that we're calling The Natural World. You can register for that right here where you're watching the video. Just click on registration. That will be on October 13th at 6 p.m. and that'll be your opportunity for some Q&A about the presentation you're about to see. So Victor, if you'd like to get started, take it away.
All right, thanks, April. Okay, what I want to do is share with you what my workflow is, because while I run a photography business, my passion is star photography. I really enjoy doing that when I can get out to do it. So understand that I'm just going to share my workflow. There's probably a half dozen ways to achieve some of the same things, okay? I'm just going to share the workflow that I have for this process, okay? So I'll be sharing my a few slides with you, and then I'm going to share some websites with you that I use in the planning process to go out before a shoot to try to make it more successful. So you should be seeing now a screen that says your night photography gear. April, can you confirm that that's up for me?
Yes, I can see that.
Okay, great. Okay, so I'm just going to go over some of the gear that I've used to start with. And let's see. There we go. So we're going to start with camera and lenses. I first started out doing star photography with the, well, that's not true. I'm sorry. I was going to say Nikon D600, but actually I started in film. So that's a while back. But now with the digital age, I'm used a Nikon D600. I still own that camera. And with that lens camera, I use the Tamron 15 to 30 millimeter. I have a Canon T5i that I like to take out sometimes. And if I take that one out, I'm using the Canon 10 to 18 millimeter on that camera. But the camera that I use 90% of the time now, about 3 years ago, I switched from Nikon after shooting Nikon for 35 years to Sony. And I use the Sony 7R2 and the Rokinon 14 millimeter. I really love that combination and I get some really nice results with that, okay? And then I'm going to show you a screenshot of a web page for shutter count. And the only reason I'm sharing that with you is because when you're shooting star trails, you tend to rack up a lot of shots. So it really increases the shutter count on your camera. So it's nice to kind of keep up where you're at on your camera so you'll have a good idea. I've had to trade in a couple of cameras a little earlier than normal because the shutter count was pretty high. Okay, so these are the three lenses, the Tamron, the Canon, the Rokinon. This is the shutter count that I like to use. It's also helpful if you're thinking about buying a used camera. If you can get a JPEG off that camera before you buy it, you can check the shutter count. Okay, so apps for night photography. This is where I used to use a whole bunch of apps because, you know, they used to be the thing to do. You know, oh, you can get a bunch of apps on your phone, you carry your phone around with you, and you just have a whole bunch. Well, now I've narrowed it down to, on my phone and iPad, I only have two apps, TPE and Photo Pills. And then when I'm doing my pre-planning at home, there's some websites that I go to, and I'm going to share those websites with you. And what I want to do is do another share and pull up the page where I can show you those websites. So April, are you seeing the Dark Site Finder?
Yes, that's what I see.
Okay, great. So we're just going to go across this page a little bit, and I'm going to talk about a few different things. But the darksitefinder.com is one of the primary pages that I use in my pre-planning. Why do you need to pre-plan? Well, it helps to know what the weather's going to be like before you go out, whether the moon is up or down, where the when it's going to rise, when it's going to set, what stage of the cycle the moon's in, whether it's a new moon or a full moon. So these are things we can find out using the different things I'm going to show you today. So here, this is the home page for the Dark Site Finder. The links here, I'm just going to go across. I'm going to go to when I get here, I click the Dark Sites page. And the Dark Site page gives me two links, the map of dark sites and a sortable list of all dark sites, okay? I really like the sortable list because it gives me some sites that I can think about going to, all right? And they're in alphabetical order when they first come up, but you can go up here to states and click on that and put the states in alphabetical order, and we go all the way down to Texas. We'll see Big Bend National Park, okay? So that is the only Texas site that is on this map, but we have other areas in Texas that are well suited for star photography, okay? One of the things you'll notice here is it's got the name of the site, what country it's in, what state it's in, okay? The color zone, okay? Dark gray, dark blue, light gray. The color zone refers to the better the viewing, okay? So the darker you are able to pick an area in, the better chance you'll have seeing more stars. But that doesn't mean that just because you're not in a totally dark area that you won't see stars. I'll talk more on that when we get to the light pollution map. Okay. Then Go back one. Okay. Map of dart sites. So we can zoom in on this. And this is, if you see the chart up here at the top, it goes from dark to light. And so obviously the closer you are to the left side, the better the viewing of the stars. So if we zoom in, you can see some sites here. Now, this list is not totally up to date. So, you know, it's good for seeing a few things, but if I'm going on a vacation outside the state, I'll come here and I'll look at this and maybe pick somewhere to go, see what it is. And what's nice about this is it gives you different sites to go to get additional different information along with the website of that location. So if we were going to go down to Florida, the first link here, and I'll open that up in a new tab. So here we have the light pollution map. What's nice about the light pollution map is up here in the top right where we have the layers. You can use the map in terrain mode, street mode, satellite mode, or dark mode. Okay, and I'll just go from terrain to dark and you can see the difference. Okay, and then how much of the light pollution is applied, 50%, 75, or 100, okay? And then if you don't want the dark sites to show you, you can unclick them if you're just going to try to zoom in and find a location. And we've got here, this hot spot here, these two hot spots. That's San Antonio and Austin. And I'm between San Antonio and Austin. And if we zoom in some more, okay, and I'm gonna go up here to terrain and turn the light pollution map off. And what I want to do is find Smithville. There we go, there's Smithville. Now we're going to turn the light pollution map back on. Well, it's not cooperating. There we go. So here's Smithville. And you can see Smithville is in a little pocket of kind of a dark area, but you're not far from the green, okay? So the further we can get away from red, orange, brown, yellow, the further we can get away from that is really nice. You'll be able to see more stars in that type of area. Now we zoom out. If you want to go west, and I like to go out toward Kerrville. Kerrville is out here on this line right here. And you can see if I view stars out to the west, I have a better chance of not having that glow on the horizon. When you're going out to view stars, it's a good idea to know how to orientate yourself to the terrain. So I'll talk more about that when we get into the planning part. Okay. So let me go back. And we'll open this one up here. So the National Weather Service. National Weather Service is really good for information. Let you know, precipitation, humidity. You can get a lot of good information right here. You just need to pick the location you're going to. Right now, we're in South Florida because that was the site that I went to look at to start with. Okay. Then this site here, this one's really nice because this one here gives you where the moon's at in its different phases, and it gives you a 7-day forecast. And if you click on the day, like if we were going to try to go do something tomorrow, okay, what we can see here is different settings. Okay, you get your wind, percentage of clouds, and you want to try to pick a night to where there's not going to be a lot of overhead cloud cover, because if the clouds are there, then clouds are notorious for reflecting light from the places to where we do have light pollution. They tend to show up really well. Plus they block the stars, okay? Then we go back here, okay? And then you get the website for the location that you might be going to, okay? So I'm going to stop that share real quick and create a new share and go back to the PowerPoint. Okay, some of the things you'll need besides your camera and your lenses, okay, is either a shutter release cable or intervalometer. Now, the newer cameras tend to have an intervalometer inside the camera menu. And if your camera has that, that's great, because you can just tell the camera that you want to take, if you're shooting star trails, how many photos you want to take, and how much time between each photo. And this is kind of important because your sensor, when you take the number of photos that you need to create a star trail, if you're taking picture after picture after picture after picture, what happens is the sensor continues to get hot, and that creates some thermal noise in the images, okay? So the intervalometer, if you set your camera settings to where maybe you're taking a photo every 20 seconds, but then you would want to set it up so that maybe you wait about 2 seconds before the next photo is taken, okay? The black electrical tape, I use that to put over the eyepiece so that I don't get light through the eyepiece. Now, I only needed that for the Canon and Nikon. Mirrorless cameras don't have that issue. A compass. Compass is really nice because once you get out on site, if you're not sure where north is, compass will point you in that direction. And when we're shooting star trails, we want to point the camera in the northern hemisphere. We want to point the camera toward the north sky so that we can get circular star trails. If we point the camera to the east or to the west, we'll get, it won't be circular star trails, but you'll still get star loops, okay? And then an LED headlamp or a small flashlight, that's nice for working in the dark. I recommend the headlamp that has the little red light is really nice because, one, it doesn't hurt your night vision as much, and it won't show up in the foreground as much as a regular white LED light will, in case you have to turn it on while the photos series is being developed in the camera, okay? So an intervalometer, you can get them. There's many different models out there, but you know, if your camera doesn't have it in the menu of your camera, then you can order one from different stores. B&H, Autorama. If you're here in Texas, I recommend you support the local camera store. So there's Precision Camera up in Austin, and there's Camera Exchange down here in San Antonio. Compass, I talked about that. The headlamp. Okay, so let's talk about setting up to shoot the shots. Okay, you have your camera, your lens, you need a tripod. Okay, because to shoot star trails, we're going to shoot a series of photos that we can stack together in post-processing to create a final image that shows the trails. Okay, now then, so once we have the camera, the lens, the tripod, shooting mode, you're going to want to be in manual mode so you can select all the settings. Okay, when it comes to focusing, you're going to want to focus out to infinity. Okay, and the easiest way to do that is if your lens has the window that shows the infinity symbol, and I'll show that to you here in a little bit. You could just turn it to that. If your lens doesn't have that window that shows the focal lengths and the infinity symbol, then while the camera is set up on the tripod, get your composition that you're going to shoot. If you're going to have something in the foreground, position that in the foreground, and then you know, you're shooting up toward the sky. Focus on something way off in the distance. Okay, and then once you have that focal point, okay, turn your autofocus off, zoom in, check the focus, and if you need to manually adjust it a little bit, you can. Okay, and then this is the second reason that I have electrical tape in my bag is once I adjust that focal ring to fine tune it, I take some electrical tape and I tape it over the focal ring so that I don't, if I accidentally touch the camera or something once the series start, I don't move that focal ring during the series. And then we're going to be using the histogram when we do our test shots to determine what our exposure is going to be. And what I mean by that is when we get ready, we're going to do a few test shots and to determine what the ISO is going to be to get the exposure that we want for the photograph. So this is kind of how it would work. Okay. Once I'm set up, I kind of put the camera into ballpark settings that I'm used to, you know, I know I'm going to be close at. And the way I do it is I do 30 seconds. Okay. And so the camera is set up to take a picture every 30 seconds. And then in the intervalometer, I set it for a 2-second delay before the second 30-second photo is taken and they're on. Okay. So I bring my f-stop down to either 3.5 or 2.8, depending on which lens I'm using. And then I set my ISO, I start out at 800 and I take a test shot. And then I look at the histogram and I see where the histogram is playing and I inspect the photo and I zoom in on the photo. And once I've completed that, I make the adjustments with the ISO, okay? Whether I can come down or I need to go up. But typically, well, it varies between the three lenses, but I've shot star trails at 800 ISO and then up to 3200 ISO, okay? And it kind of depends on your lens. But once you have the ISO set, then you're ready to go. And that's when you're ready to start the intervalometer and click it. And then every 32 seconds, a new photo's going off. And then it's just a waiting game, okay? In preparation, I do mirror lockup to start with, so that that's not always flapping up if I'm shooting the Canon or the Nikon D600. I don't have that issue with the Sony. I go into the menu and turn the long exposure noise reduction off because I can take care of any noise reduction in post-processing. Now, the 500 rule, if you're going to be shooting the Milky Way, this is when you need the 500 rule. I don't use the 500 rule for shooting star trails because shooting star trails, my stars aren't going to be pinpoint, tack sharp dots of light. They're going to be small lines that when you stack them together, create those circles. But if you're going to shoot the Milky Way, then you'll want to shoot shorter shutter speeds so it doesn't have time for the stars to create that line and look out of focus. So the 500 rule, what you do is take the focal length of your lens and divide that into 500. And that will give you the number of seconds that you can shoot at. And when I'm shooting the Milky Way and I choose to use the Sony and the 14mm, I divide 14 into 500. It gives me the seconds, and to try to stay a little safe, I shave a couple of seconds off of that, okay? And then working with other photographers, when you go out to work with other photographers, just be courteous, be knowledgeable of your own light source in the setup process, and especially, I mean, I've been on workshops to where we've gone out. I've helped the students set up their gear. We're about ready to get started. I check with everyone to make sure, are you good? And then we say, okay, let's start. And from that point, I try to get the students to, not turn any lights on at all, because when we're doing star trails, any light that comes into the photograph is going to be recorded on one of your shots in a series. And then we can, if it's only a time or two, you can pull those shots out and it won't affect your shot. But in the stacking process, which is kind of nice, because in the stacking process, and I use Star Stack, which is a free program, you'll see from time to time, we'll have that airplane flying through your field of view, and you've got a series of pictures with those blimps of light all the way across your circular trails in your final image. So it's nice, you can go back and pick each, you can go through each individual image, and once you see the plane come into view, you can select that one, go down to where it goes out of view and pull those. Now that does give you some spaces in the work, but the software can help you deal with that. Okay. If you have something in the foreground that you're shooting, like a tree, a rock formation, you can light it up using, you can use speed lights with pops of light, and you don't have to do it all night. You just have to do it for one or two images, depending on what you're lighting up, which is nice because the way, whether it's in Photoshop or in the program that I use, it blends the images together. So what does that mean? Well, it means at 1 o'clock in the morning, when the car drove through the rest area and the headlights shined across a portion of your foreground, that's going to show up. And then when a car coming from the opposite direction drives through and those headlights illuminate your foreground, that shows up as well. Okay. Or if you're shooting on one side of the lake, and all of a sudden at 2 o'clock in the morning, you have people pull up to the other side of the lake and they're walking back and forth on the lake with a flashlight or a lantern, and everywhere they go is just like a trail of light, and it shows up as one continuous trail when the photos are stacked. So, when you're shooting the stars, some type of foreground is really nice for the composition. Okay. I'm particular to windmills. I like finding a windmill and that's in a good location that lends itself to being shot with a northbound exposure. Okay. I'm not going to talk about Milky Way panoramas, but it's Milky Way Panorama. You can do that. You would just process the photos the same way you would any panorama. Okay, this is the infinity symbol I told you about earlier. You'll see this on your lens. This is what it looks like on a Canon. Okay, this is what it looks like on a Nikon. Not all cameras have that window for viewing. Okay. And that's when, if you don't have that window, you'll need to just focus off into infinity. Okay. And that is all the slides that I have. What I'd like to do now is share with you a little of the post-processing. Okay. I'll have to get that up. April, can you tell me what you're seeing on your end?
Right now, you are not sharing your screen. I'm just seeing you.
Oh, okay. All right, give me half a second and I'll have some images to show you. And I'm sorry for the dead time. But maybe April will do the editing and take out the dead time we've got right now.
While our viewers are waiting for the next slides to come up, I will remind you that you can ask questions of Victor on October 13th at 6 p.m. in our live panel discussion. And I also invite you to go and look at our other panelists, one of which is Bill Wren with the McDonald Observatory, who talks about night skies and dark skies, and is a perfect pairing with Victor Watson's photography presentation today on photographing night skies.
Stretch it out just a little bit, April.
We also have several other speakers in this program in Eco Photo Fest, including several other photographers that are going to talk about macro photography, micro photography, food photography, all sorts of great different options for you to look at when it comes to photography. We just did a wonderful food photography presentation yesterday that made me look at food in a whole new way when I see it in a photograph. We also have lots of eco presentations, including one from Dr. Kevin Anderson that told me all sorts of new things about the Colorado River I was totally unaware of. And I don't know if you know this, but a female dragonfly is not called a dragonfly. It is called a damselfly. So now you've learned something new. Are you ready, Victor?
I am. I'm just looking for the Zoom controls again.
Okay. Go to the bottom of your screen and click on Share Screen, the little green upward arrow.
There we go. Okay. Okay. Hey, tell me what you see.
I see a night sky with a little bit of light on some water.
Okay, super. Okay. So I'm going to quickly show you how this program works. A lot of you may already use it, or you may have some other program that does the same thing. But I kind of want to share with you some of the things that you'll see here. Okay, and this is, I was kind of alluding to when I took a workshop out to the lake. I'm sorry. People across the lake, well, people thought, well, we're just going to go over to the other side. It's not as crowded. But then they didn't use any light discipline, and we kept getting light from the other side in our shots. But this is StarStack. It's a free program. You can Google it, and it's free for you to use. You download it, install it. All you have to do is take your photos after you've done your Lightroom processing, and then move them over to this program. And the way it works is I've got 80 something photos here. And you can see the one image out. That's the first image right here. Okay, we got stars in the sky, we got some light pollution on the horizon there, and then we got some lights coming from the area from the other side, which there's a dock on the other side and a pavilion, and it probably wasn't all just our photographers. I think there were some campers out there as well. Okay, but as we go down here, you can see, you know, we started to get some lights turned off. So these are different shots. As we go down, you can see how each shot is different and how the light's changing. People are moving around. Okay. Now then, we'll go back up to the first one. And then to start the process, you're going to see this image go from the first image and how it changes as it blends each image until it gets down to the last one. And you start to see the trail starts to develop, but you see that all that additional light start to come in from different sources. Now the folks that were on the lake side with me, they got circular star trails. The folks that went to the other side to shoot in the opposite direction, they didn't get star trails. They got those loops that I was telling you about because they were shooting in a southerly direction. Okay, so you see how the star trails developed, but you also see all of this, the light come in here. Well, when you're processing these, you'll keep up with which image it's blending, and you can see it because it lights up as it's going down and blending that image. When you see something pop up in your photograph that, oh, I need to deal with that. Well, just look and see which image it is and remember that. And then you can go back to it. And I didn't do it, but it will go back to the top and click on this one here. We're back to where we started because I haven't exported the final file yet. But like that one long light across the lake, I really would like to get rid of that. So if I unclick this photo and keep unclicking photos as we go, we're going to get to a point to where that light goes away. There, okay. And then there's other photos we can look at to see if there's something in that photo. Right now I'm looking for a photo that clearly has something I don't want in the image. I don't want that burst of light. Let's see how long it stays there. Okay. All right. I haven't gotten them all, but we'll go ahead and start the process again. And we'll see if we can get a little better result. Well, there's still at least one more in there with a big spotlight right there. Now, back when we shot film, we could just set the camera up and leave the camera open for 2, 3, 4 hours, okay, and get these trails. Doing that with a digital camera, your sensor will get really hot, okay, and it's not good for the camera. That's why we shoot a lot of short shots and blend them together. Well, let me restate that. That's why I do it, okay? Like I said earlier, there's multiple ways to do this type of photography, and everyone has their special way. And this tends to work for me, okay? All righty. I'm gonna stop the share there, April, and I think that's going to bring us to an end.
Yes, sir. That was very interesting. I was very interested in watching how you were finding the different, the one little image that would get rid of all that light that was at the bottom of that beautiful swirled image of the night sky. That was lovely, a lovely image. And
it's nice because you would think, oh, well, you took out a bunch of photos, but as you could see, it didn't really destroy the image.
It just took away that better. Yeah, very distracting stuff at the bottom, so you could focus in on that lovely image of the sky. Well, that was very interesting, Victor, and I really so much appreciate, for those of you that are watching today, Victor Watson of Schertz Photography has always come out, in the years that I've been involved in PhotoFest, has come out each year and been an instructor. He's always brought people with him. And we really always appreciate his very generously offering his time and his expertise to those of you that are interested in photography. And as I said a little while ago, if you would like to ask questions of Victor Watson, he will be appearing live in our speaker panel on October 13th at 6 o'clock. You can see the registration link in the same place here where you were able to open up this video. So be sure and register so that we can send you the Zoom link for that. As I said again, thank you for attending EcoFest and PhotoFest. And we also, of course, have a photography competition going on through October 24th. So be sure and click on that tab and take a look at that and see all the different prizes and things that are available. And again, thank you, Victor, for participating today. And that concludes our presentation. Thanks, everyone, very much.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Thank you.